Good evening. Police have bashed down doors in early morning raids across Sydney's southwest, calling out 4 teenage boys accused of a home invasion which shocked many last month.
The gang is accused of barging into a Green Acre home and slicing off a man's hand with a machete in a violent robbery. Only 7 News was there when police pounced today.
Midnight thieves in a shock dawn awakening. A hooded gang with a half-metre machete kicks down the door of a Green Acre home and cuts off a young man's hand. Today, quiet calmer as those accused of the crime had their own door-busting blitz from Strikeforce Police.
We arrested 4 teenage males.
Hauled from their homes in morning raids across Sydney's southwest, none is older than 17. This boy's mother had nothing but tears at George's Hall.
We have an emerging issue where young people who are not previously known to police are now committing very serious crimes.
And serious it was. They made a beeline for a bedroom with a single demand for cold hard cash. They knew what they wanted and right where to get it. Handed $7,000 from an upstairs safe.
This is an offence that was committed for financial gains.
The family owns a successful Western Sydney supermarket.
Do you think it's in-house? Could it be a former employee?
I can't really go into that at the moment.
In and out in under a minute, the homeowner telling 7 News his son woke up and had his hand sliced off when he wrestled with the intruders.
The young victim spent 3 weeks in hospital having his hand reattached, but doctors still don't know if he'll ever have full use of it again. A double blow for the man who works as a carpenter.
The 4 boys remain in custody tonight. Clementine Cuneo, 7 News.
It was a terrifying night for one Sydney family when dozens of bullets were sprayed at their Chester Hill home.
It's being described as nothing short of a miracle. Nobody was hurt. Police are now on the hunt for a white SUV used in the ambush.
Pulling up in the dead of night, a gunman unleashes on a Chester Hill home with a family inside. More than 30 shots ringing out on Curtis Road just after 2 a.m, captured on a baby monitor across the road.
I hear a big noise. Boom, boom, boom. I was worried about my grandkids there in this first room.
The driver immediately flees. But seconds later, turns around, the gunman going back after reloading for a second attack.
At this stage, police believe the shooting is targeted.
A 49-year-old woman and 2 men aged 25 and 58 inside at the time.
With the sheer amount of gunshots, it seems remarkable nobody was hit. Police today finding bullets in a power pole, the front fence, even through the family's windows. They all made it out unharmed though.
Detectives now investigating whether this was yet another gang hit.
Early stages of the investigation, and that has certainly been part of one of our lines of inquiry.
Tonight, police are still on the hunt for the shooter and anyone who was with them. They're currently looking for that white SUV. It is not known how many people were in the car, but it is known this was targeted. 7 News understands one of the men living at that home in Chester Hill was known to police. Multiple neighbours today telling us they had seen police officers there repeatedly in the last year and that for months they feared something was going to happen.
Nick Overall reporting, thank you. Well, the government's been forced to change how it determines the level of aged care older Australians receive. They're adding more human screening as a new challenger to Anthony Albanese emerges, armed with a racket.
Joseph Dowd thought winning tennis with the Prime Minister of the Lodge was going to be a stretch.
Genuinely shocked.
Recording that shocking moment.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Blasting all bidders from the court at last night's Press Gallery midwinter ball with $16,500 for charity, suddenly looking for a coach.
Well, I heard Nick Kyrgios recently retired. If he wants a gig, mate, tell him to come right down.
The Sydney mortgage broker wants to give the PM a real serve. He spent thousands on billboards slamming the budget and now wants to argue his case in the court of public opinion. His preferred umpire, no fan of the PM.
Hughesy, Dave Hughes.
Anthony Albanese today returning serve.
if it's a choice between someone who's in the sector somewhere and who's got enough money to buy billboards and spend all this, or first home buyers struggling to get into a home, I'm for the first home buyers.
The main political game today, aged care. The government adding another level of human oversight to ensure assessments by computer algorithms deliver the right level of care. A primary assessment by a trained clinician will be filtered through a computer checklist for consistency, then reviewed by a separate delegate with a new avenue for appeal. But the Coalition, Greens and Crossbench want complete human oversight.
We've sent a very clear message to the government that we are not going to sit idly by and let them persecute older Australians' needs.
There is human oversight over all of these processes.
That new review process now going out for consultation.
And for more, political editor Mark Riley joins us now. Mark, good evening to you. Will this ensure patients receive the right amount of care?
Good evening, Michael. Well, that's the objective, and importantly, the sector seems to think that it will. The government insists the algorithms smooth out massive inconsistencies, people with similar circumstances receiving very different levels of care depending on the view of the individual clinicians, and says the multi-party alternative from the Senate would only delay services by several months and add hundreds of millions of dollars in costs.
Good on you, Mark. Mark Riley there in Canberra. Thank you.
A former Sydney childcare worker has been jailed for 12 years for filming indecent images of young boys in his care on the Lower North Shore. David James then uploaded them to the dark web, behaviour described by the judge as disturbing and depraved.
He didn't just share child abuse material. David James created it, using his position as a childcare worker to his benefit.
The type of material that my office had to view is some of the worst of its kind.
The 27-year-old photographed and filmed 9 boys in a state of semi-undress at 6 childcare centres he worked at across Sydney. The victims were aged between 5 and 9. David James was nabbed under Operation Whiskey Bow, based out of Queensland, where police officers assume identities to catch predators on the dark web. In August 2024, they noticed one user named Remy, who would often log on between 9:30 and 2 a.m, and realised he was in Australia. In September, he uploaded half a dozen photos and police tracked the location. Weeks later, they raided his home and seized a laptop, phone and USB. He refused to give police his passwords, but officers eventually gained access in October and discovered the child abuse material. The judge saying he abused both a position of trust and authority. It was disturbing and depraved, before jailing him for a maximum 12 years. He must serve at least 7. David James wrote a letter of apology to the victims' parents, saying he is deeply ashamed of his actions. They've expressed their concerns their children will remember what happened to them as they get older.
Our thoughts are with the children, their families, and anyone affected by this horrendous offending.
Leonie Ryan, 7 News.